Good evening, visitors, and welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Gerard Pratt, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Acting Sub-Lieutenant Jack Ludlow. We warmly welcome the family of Sapper Thomas Alphonsis Hoolahan, whose story will be told shortly. We warmly welcome one recruit training unit from the Royal Australian Air Force Base in Wagga Wagga, New South Wales. We welcome the veterans who have served, those who are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome their members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family, visitors, and Australian Defence Force cadets from Baulkham Hills High School Army Cadet Unit, Baulkham Hills, New South Wales, and students on behalf of Open Access College, Port Augusta School of the Air, Port Augusta, South Australia. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. If able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through until the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record, which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Sapper Thomas Alphonsis Hoolahan. Thomas Hoolahan was born on the 5th of September 1902 in Cardiff, New South Wales, the son of Patrick and Annie Houlihan. He grew up to work as a motor driver and mechanic, living with his family in the Sydney suburb of Marrickville. He also served for 2 years in the militia, parading part-time with the 53rd Battalion, known as the West Sydney Regiment. Thomas Hoolahan enlisted for service in the 2nd Australian Imperial Force on the 18th of June 1940 at Paddington in Sydney. He was soon allotted to the 2nd and 12th Field Company, becoming part of the Royal Australian Engineers, and joined his new unit training at Bathurst. Just over a year later, on the 29th of July 1941, Sapper Hoolahan embarked from Sydney for active overseas service. Arriving in Singapore in mid-August, in early November he was treated for enterocolitis, an inflammation of the digestive tract, before transferring to a convalescent depot. Returning to duty in December, Houlihan rejoined his unit in December. As Japanese troops advanced through Malaya, the 2nd 12th Field Company was involved in actions at the Gemmensa Bridge, Woodlands Oil Depot, Segamat, Kranji, and Johor. Although accomplishing some successes, the Japanese advance could not be stopped. By mid-February 1942, Commonwealth troops had withdrawn to the city of Singapore. On the night of the 14th and 15th of February, the Japanese continued to press against the Allied perimeter. While the line largely held, the situation was becoming desperate. The water system had been damaged, rations were running low, and artillery ammunition was in short supply. Singapore was surrendered on the 15th of February, and with that, Sapper Hoolahan became a prisoner of war. Most of the Australians captured in Singapore were moved into Changi, where they occupied Selarang Barracks. For many, this was just a transit stop, as working parties were soon dispatched to other camps in Singapore and Malaya. Houlihan became part of A-Force, the first Australian group to leave Singapore for Burma, on the 14th of May, 1942. The 3,000-strong force, drawn principally from the 22nd Brigade, sailed from Singapore to Burma. After constructing airfields, A-Force moved to Tan Baisiat, where it began working on the Burma-Thailand Railway. Relentless labour on inadequate rations in a deadly tropical environment caused huge losses. By the time the railway was completed in October 1943, at least 2,815 Australians, over 11,000 other Allied prisoners, and perhaps 75,000 Ramusha were dead. Among their number was Thomas Hoolahan, who died of malaria and dysentery on the 15th of February 1943. He was 40 years old. Today his remains lie in Baisiat War Cemetery, underneath the inscription chosen by his grieving family. His duty fearlessly and nobly done, ever remembered, R.I.P. His name is listed on the roll of honour on my left, among some 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Sapper Thomas Alphonsis Hoolahan, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
If able, please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere, or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.